3, 4. Yeah!
Yay!
A little AC/DC rip-off, maybe.
An homage.
An homage.
Let's call it that.
We didn't dare to play some original AC/DC. Yeah, but I've done some tutorial DVD in the past where I analyzed the styles of AC/DC, and this was the backing track.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think people might have recognized what you were going for.
Sure. Yeah. Today's episode, Academy of Tone number 44, is about how to get great tones at low volume.
Mm-hmm.
So AC/DC is the loudest band on the planet, probably, and we had some A/B testing with my, what was it, the Black Flag 1967 100-watt Marshall versus the AMP1.
Yep.
So there's a little video snippet that you can see first on the Academy of Tone channel, and we have done just recently one on Facebook, right?
Yep, exactly, yep.
Yeah, so this is how close we can get. And you used a setting which is the clean channel on 10 and the boost in pretty middle position. So it's kind of a boosted clean sound.
Yeah, pretty much a Malcolm Young sort of a tone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm using a P90 and he was using Gretsch
filter
guitar,
tones,
maybe.
tones, yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty close.
This kind of direction, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a dynamic tone that is in between clean and, not too heavy saturated. Okay, I was using the vintage channel, so I had a bit more Angus, a bit more. Yeah, okay, with my beautiful gold top Les Paul. Not authentic, this is not an SG, but it's a Gibson and it's a good guitar, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know that guitar very well indeed. This one is new on the show, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit of a loner. It comes from a German company, a guy called Thorsten Hans,
Yeah.
from a city called Tübingen in Germany, and he's lent us this one. This is a rocket model. It was made in 2021.
So very.
Possibly the first guitar that he made this year. It's super duper light. It's
Yeah.
called the Rocket. We'll talk about it a bit more, I think,
Later,
in the second
yeah.
half of the show. So stick around for that if you're interested in this
Yeah.
guitar. But I think the guys are in the chat, so if you
Yeah.
want to chat with Hans Guitars, check out their website. Talk
Yeah.
to them in the chat there.
And I have some scary references here. My 56 Les Paul Jr., all original, besides the tuners. So that's a hard to beat guitar.
Yeah, that's going to
So-
be an interesting comparison.
Yeah. Okay. So back to the topic of today. Thinking of the reality of most guitar players. These days especially, we are not on stage, we are sitting at home. And all we have as a pleasure is the tone that we get from the guitar in our living room. And maybe we should start from how to get a good tone at a decent volume. So if there is any, that's me?
No, it's me. Carry on.
Okay, we get a sign. Okay, anyway. So if you are at home and you want to get a decent tone, we have a totally different situation like being on stage. It's a totally different thing from a rehearsal room. So to get something that inspires you, something that sounds pleasant to ears, that actually is fun to play at a decent volume.
Yes.
So my idea today was first to show you where we come from. Here, just beside you, is my 1969, I guess, 50-watt Marshall, which I played on many albums. And I switched to that by using the preamp. So this is... okay, wait a minute. Just to show the people, can you unplug the cable? Just, yeah. So no tone, and you plug it back in.
Yep.
So this is the Marshall. So, and of course it's the real deal vintage Marshall, and it's cranked, and this is how it sounds. It's a bit loud in here, but let me do. Okay, maybe that's more realistic. Okay. So what I'm using right now is the Marshall with the SE100 power soak to tame the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the sound we are getting into the blue box, because the Marshall needs a load, and the blue box is using my famous 1970s stack, the one that I always use.
Yeah.
So what we can do now is we can simply, I mean, listen to that amp. It's a killer amp. Dynamic, you know, break up, all how it should be.
And at a volume level that we can basically talk over in the room here.
Yeah. Okay, I compare this now with my AB switcher with the AMP1. So how to do that? I switch to AMP1. Now that's the AMP1. And I have the reverb. That's the Marshall. Sorry. Okay, I mean, is there a difference? I don't know. If there is one, nothing of importance. And all the stuff. So the first thing is, if you have the real deal recording amp that is great in the studio and in certain live situations, it's something you already have with your AMP1. And the setting on this here, which I used for the AB, is totally boring. It's gain on 10, the vintage channel, middle position, slightly more mids, middle position on treble. That's it.
Yeah.
So there's no magic. But how does it sound when we listen through a wheeled speaker in the room? Mm-hmm. Because what you are hearing right now, is using this blue box here for like the AMP1 or the Marshall. I can show you. This is the AMP1. So the cabinet comes from here. Okay, and I do the same thing with the Marshall. So you see. So this gives you the sound that you're hearing. And actually, the blue box always is so good. Every time I do a sound check, I'm just excited. It's like, wow, finished, you know?
Can you talk about your life a little bit before you had the blue box, before you had attenuation, when you first got amps like this?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a lot of guys out there watching this
Yeah.
will have the same problems that you would have had back in the day.
Sure.
A big tube amp that only sounds good when you start to push the master a bit.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Well, see, this is from back in the days how I played it. I played that amp even live with my trio Dreist, and there's some old pictures with me with the SE100 to tame it. Otherwise, the singer was yelling at me in live situation, but also in my studio. Then I did have a silent cabinet in my studio where I put in exactly that Marshall cabinet that I'm kind of modeled in the blue box, the 1970, which is my favorite cabinet in the real world and in the blue box. And I mic'd up that cabinet, and that was the sound that I used on all my records. Actually, that whole setup was not so much fun to practice with because, you know, you cook the tube amp all the time. Your tubes wear out after a while.
Yeah.
And then, you know, to have this kind of setup, it's a lot of hassle, your mixing console and everything. So to be honest, at that time, I was practicing without an amp even. I had this beautiful amp in my studio, but I used it only for recording. For practicing, I was playing no amp.
Nothing at all.
Nothing
And
at all.
on an electric guitar, not an acoustic guitar?
No, on the electric.
Okay.
I do have an acoustic downstairs in case I want a thing that is louder, but actually I played a lot just with the guitar with no amp, imagining the sound.
Yeah.
Well, it helps too. It's a good exercise. So anyway, that was my first setup. And then my next setup was I had a more modern amp, which was a Kettner Triamp that has a master volume.
Yeah.
And then I had that sitting in the corner, and I had a small cabinet, which is now our Fat Cab.
Yeah.
I had that same cabinet built for myself even 15 years ago. At the first iteration, it was loaded with a Celestion Greenback, which is a nice speaker, but it can only handle 25 watts. So that cabinet I used at home, and that cabinet I used on stage, and I blew a few of those speakers. So this was kind of the second generation. At that time around, there wasn't a thing like the aux now. The aux is kind of the combination of the power soak for these old tube amps plus a IR loader and effects.
The aux being the Universal Audio aux box,
Exactly.
which is a product you'll see on top of many amps in many YouTuber studios and many professional studios right now.
Yeah, and I mean, if that would have been around at that time, I would probably have used that as well.
Yeah.
Because it provides the load for the amp, so you can dial in any volume. It is easy to use in the way of miking up different cabinets because it's all virtual stuff. It's a nice selection of speakers and mics, not too many. That's something that I like. And it comes with effects. You know, when I had my real setup versus this thing, I had to switch on my 8-bus 62-channel Mackie board, which is still there, it's modified, and then an extra power amp to put on, and then my effects units. My whole studio was working just for practice. Hey, you know, I've done this twice, and then I've you know, I was too lazy. I was just playing because, you know, by the time I switched on my whole studio, you know, I had no time anymore.
Yeah.
So, and such a thing like this Universal Audio aux box gives me a lot of that in one box, and that makes it convenient, and the quality is actually good. So that's something, if you have a traditional tube amp and you want to use that, fine. It's a good combination. That's why many people are using it. The downside of that is you are still cooking the tube amp, and just to practice your A minor pentatonic licks, do you really want to wear out your holy grail amplifiers?
Yeah.
It hurts. I mean, and so some people go and buy cheaper practice amps, you know, like modeling amps or transistor amps. But to me, that was always not my thing, because I never felt inspired. I had some small Marshall modeling amp, just, you know, because first impression was, oh, it's not so bad with the effects. After a while, it was sitting somewhere, and then I gave it away as a present for the son of a friend of mine. So anyway, somebody else is happy with this amp, but this was never inspiring me. So, and then when I got the AMP1, actually me privately, that was the first time I really practiced with an amplifier at home, because it's so convenient. It sits there, and I have the NanoCab in my living room, and that's, well, volume is not an issue. It's way too loud if you crank it, but it also sounds superb and nice and rich at low volumes.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Let us show you a setup that we have done here with like 3 different cabinets. We have the fat cap. We do have the NanoCab, and we have a Hughes and Kettner combo, and we have some room mics. I know this is a bit weird now, because the room will be, will be very obvious, but let me see how we get here. Okay, that's the speaker, and that's the blue box.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to say here, it's something you touched on, is the inspiration factor when playing at home. And I think what we're going to find out now with cabinets is that different sizes of cabinets react in very different ways. Of course, when you're playing at full gig volume, but also when you're playing at home, right?
Absolutely.
So you've got products like the Fat Cab and the NanoCab, which are good for all these things.
Yeah.
You can do anything with them, but there are other cabs, other types of cabinet, other types of speaker, which don't sound great unless you push them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the first thing that I learned about speakers. There is some kind of electrical noise, a kind of zizzle on some speakers, and this zizzle is kind of like a consistent noise, and then you lower the volume, and this noise still is around.
Yeah.
It will disappear with higher volume, but in the living room situation, you get a tons of zizzle, and I always hated this kind of speakers. If you look into classic Celestion speakers, for instance, the nice old greenbacks, they are very smooth because they are low wattage designs, and they have lighter membranes that are more alive. So this was always a reference point for me when choosing my speakers or designing my speakers for the BluGuitar cabinets, to have membranes, and even on some no edge treatment, which means it's this glibbery stuff around the cone, and that is kind of voicing the speaker a bit, but it's also dampening the speaker a bit. And if you take all of that away and just have a lightweight membrane, you get a super alive tone at low volume. So, do you have your mobile phone with you?
Yes, I do.
Because now we can show you something.
It's almost like we planned it.
You have a dB meter, right?
I do. I think it's pretty pretty decent. I think it's a free app. It's called Decibel X, if anyone's interested, but I think it gives a pretty good representation of how loud it is. So I don't know if
can we show it to the camera?
Which camera?
No, this, and maybe closer. No. Is it?
I think the overhead camera.
Overhead camera. Yeah, put it in the overhead.
Tech problems. Is that good? Is that good?
We are improvising.
Yeah.
This is a live stream. So if I don't know what you see, but if you see that that screen is good. So it should show our talking level now. How many dBs can you read?
We're pushing about 60 when we talk, which I think is it's fairly accurate. I believe, and it goes down to 40 something when we're not.
Next thing I'll do is I have the guitar turned down and I play and not talk. How much is this?
That peaked at about 70 dB.
Okay, so and now, so you get a feel for what's going on. Now I put in the input. How much is this?
I think that went to high 70s.
Okay.
Didn't go to 80 dB.
Okay, now I crank the guitar. How much is that?
Sorry, they're telling me to turn it round. That was again about 79, I think, at the peak.
Okay. Put my mobile phone under your mobile phone.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, okay.
High 70s again.
Okay, high 70s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like this would be a practice volume at home. You know, we can still talk, and even while... Okay, you're still listening through the Blue Box, I guess, at this point. Now, can we switch to the room mic and cut our clip-on mics off? Actually, something weird sound now. Hello, maybe it sounds a bit underwater and in the room. So this is the sound of a clap in the room, and this is a loud clap. I hope you didn't die. Anyway, so now this is how it sounds with the Blue Box through our studio monitor. This is. So let me talk, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is like the guitar. And now I crank the guitar. I put in some reverb, some delay here, just for fun. Okay, back. Okay, anyway. That's the sound from the Blue Box. Now I switch to the cabinet, which is behind me, and let me start with the NanoCab. So this is the little NanoCab, this one here. And are we getting now?
That was a little bit louder. Give us another play at that level. Play again.
I can turn down the level. If
no, just try it again. I want to. Actually, I mean that was about 82 dB that time, and that's really not much more, is it?
Yeah. Okay, but I think this is kind of a nice volume. Now I make a test. I get more gain. Like this. And what I want to do now is I decrease the volume so we can hear how fizzy that speaker gets.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone, and I bring it back up. This is the volume where it's hardly to hear. And
so at this volume we can hear your acoustic strings ringing louder than the cabinet in the room. I hope that's coming across.
Yeah, and hoping that is coming across. And you should hear a tone that is not fizzy. You should hear, at least this is how it sounds where I'm sitting. It's just everything I want from a nice round tone. Okay, of course, for more pleasure at that volume, I can bring in the delay now, because anything does help, and this is one thing. Delays always make me feel like. Can you hear? So with this kind of volume, we could still play, and the neighbors next door or somebody next door would be kind of okay, even to sleep.
Yeah.
I think so. So
can we raise our voices slightly, guys? In the comments they're saying we can't really hear our voices, or we're going to talk louder. That's also going to help.
Yeah, I mean we talk this direction. The microphone is over there, so this is how it is. Okay.
So using delay at this kind of volume, it's kind of like using reverb when you use the headphones with the AMP1, for example.
Yeah.
It's just, it fills out the sound, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just makes it more fun to play.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's the one thing. I want to show you now 3 different cabinets. So I started with a NanoCab, and now I will go for the Fat Cab. I make it a little louder, so, and for that thing we can. Should be the Fat Cab. I mean, this is already a huge sound. Yeah, I believe.
Would your neighbours be alright with you practicing at that volume?
It's a bit too much for.
Because I'm going to say mine probably would be knocking on the door at some point.
But again, let me reduce the volume on the Fat Cab.
Yeah.
And you can hear it's pretty even frequency.
Sound, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this is why it's called Fat Cab, because it already sounds like a 4x12.
There we go. Yeah. Just drop us a message, guys. Can you hear us? Are we loud enough? Just tell us in the comments briefly, please.
Yeah, and hopefully the cabinet sounds like it sounds here in the room. But anyway.
In the comments they're saying a ducker is on, so they can't hear the voices.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
We're trying to make it work.
So, next thing is I've got this little using Kettner combo, and I'm just using the speaker of it. So we have a Fat Cab, and then...
What speakers are in the Fat Cab?
Well, it's BluGuitar's own speaker, designed specially for the cabinet.
And 12-inch, right?
All 12-inch.
Whereas the H&K one here is a 10-inch, right?
And this is how it sounds. HK.
I mean, to my ears, that also sounds like a usable sound. There's obviously a lot less low end in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a taste thing. But
yeah.
I imagine if we turn the volume down more, you'd start to notice the differences more as well.
Yeah, but listen to this. To me, you know, the fat cap, at least where I'm sitting, is like I'm playing a 4x12. Let's be quick and have this one, just so you hear the difference. Here. It's usable, it's cool, but it's not the same. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing you could use it, but for us here, hearing it in like a direct A/B comparison, the 10-inch one, it sounds like it's in a room on the other side of the street or something.
Yeah, and it's so small.
Yeah.
It's so boxy.
Exactly.
In a way. This is how it sounds here. Okay. Anyway, and then I'll probably go back for the blue box with our studio monitor. So still only the room mic. So to my taste, that sounds pretty good. And of course, I can have it any volume.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of those direct tones.
Yeah.
If you don't have to worry about if the speaker does any sizzle or stuff, because the model of the of the speaker here is already at the sweet spot. You know, I spent so much time to capture this one sweet spot, and that's it. So that works pretty well.
Which of the BluGuitar cabinets would you recommend for someone who literally only wants to play at home?
I personally use the NanoCab, even though the fat cap sounds so impressive here, but I can fake that thing for home just by adding a little bit of bass and less mids. I can show you. I go back for the fat cap. I don't know if you hear it with the room mics now, but okay, this was the HK, and so
We need like a helper person who just sort of lies behind the speakers there and just pulls them in and out. But.
Okay, so this is the fat cap. Okay, then I switch to the Nano, and the Nano will be a bit more mid-rangey. So to get that oomph for home, just use the bass. So to me now, it's, if I don't have the A/B comparison anymore, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So probably go back to normal clip-on mics now. So it's not too hard for you guys to hear what we are saying. So we are back on our normal mic settings.
Yay.
So maybe you could hear that with a little EQ tweaking, I can get the NanoCab sound really big at home.
Yeah.
In a live situation, I wouldn't have the bass on 10 with a NanoCab. That would be simply too much, and would probably also overload the speaker. But at living room volume, with the tone control from the AMP1, you just spice the sound a bit more to make it as you like.
Yeah.
So that's an easy one. I do have a few more recipes how to deal with low volume. There's a thing about compression. So when we you know what? Give me a Strat. Ah, there's a Strat.
So we've got the diamond compressor pedal on the board in front of us.
Yep.
Today, which is that your favorite compressor pedal?
I got 3 of those, and it's a pretty good one. And so here, nice, and the strap. You know what? Get rid of the strap. The strap is great for playing and standing, which I sometimes do, but in the live stream, who needs a strap? So when you play a standard amp, by the way, can you switch off the Marshall just in case?
Yeah.
Both up, yeah. The indicator is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. It's a vintage gear, it's all authentic, so some parts die, but it sounds killer. Back to our thing here. When you play like a Marshall, for instance, it sounds best when it's cranked. So if you do have an amp that has an effects loop, you can fake the crank factor a little bit by compressing the preamp signal before the power amp stage. Mm-hmm. So let me see if I can get this working. Therefore, I sacrifice the delay and simply get this off. Oops, sorry. Yeah. And I go back for the blue box. And let's see if we are still working. Aha. I give it more volume now. So anyway, this is kind of how I hear myself usually in a live stream. Okay, nice. And then I use the return to go into the output of my compressor. Okay, let's put the volume down first. Very cool. And use the send to the input. And now I switch to serial mode. Mm-hmm. So the signal is sent through the diamond from the preamp into the diamond into the power amp of the AMP1. So where's the sound? Can you hear how it blooms, how big the sound is, especially when I turn down the volume? Versus. So, okay, let's try a setting where when I play it hard, it's kind of the same volume level. So what happens now, when I stop playing, the compression comes in. Okay, I show you. I play soft. Kind of boosting the clean range. Mm. And when I dig in, it should be the same. So now playing feels different. I show you. Without a compressor. So that kind of gives me the impression of a cranked amp.
Yeah.
It's maybe a little bit too much, but I wanted to show you, you know, how the effect works. If I dial back the compression by whatever 20%, it sounds natural and enhances the kind of breathing and pushing and, you know.
Is that something we could also get at really, really low volumes?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because now I can get, I show you, yeah. Wait a minute.
Because we're kind of at almost practice level right now,
Yeah.
but it was touching over 80 dB, so it might be too loud for some people.
Okay. It's kind of low.
Yep.
So this is without a compressor. And this is with. It's just more body there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, it's maybe a little bit too much, but you get the idea. Let's dial it into a way where I would use it. Maybe a little louder. Okay, let's do it on dBs. So without a compressor. Just fuller.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe just a bit more. More is more. Okay, anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah. Can we get that whisper quiet quickly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I leave the compression
And
on.
that would literally be just turning down the master on the amp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tone stays the same because the power amp is not involved in that kind of game anymore.
Yeah.
Whisper low.
Yep, we can talk over that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. I switch off the compressor. It's a tiny little extra richness and full.
Yeah, again, it's a bit of a boost, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
taking you up a notch, and
Yeah.
just because it sounds better and presumably it feels
feels
better too, and
Yeah.
that's again something to get you inspired to play more at that volume.
Yeah, but we didn't exceed that volume level. So
No.
when it was everything cranked, we were at exactly the same volume level.
Yeah.
And that's a little effect. It's maybe subtle, but it's an effect that is available with any amp that has an effects loop, a serial effects loop. AMP1 or whatever brand. So that's the recipe. If you would put the compressor in front of the amplifier with the overdrive tones, it changes the whole dynamic factor and the whole sound.
Yeah.
But in the effects loop, you kind of have the same factor and just the feel of an amp that is more cranked. Okay, we do have another thing with the AMP1, which is our power soak feature. Let's get rid of the compressor, get it off the effects loop, and now I use another cable, and this should work. Let's see. Put it in the foot switch socket. Hello, we go back for vintage, reverb. Wait a minute. Reverb. Is this on preset mode? No, this is on standard mode. Okay. I'm back. Let's have, for instance, the clean channel. Use the boost and the reverb. So I put this somewhere on here. And then I play something. And what I like to do now is I like to crank the AMP1's power amp stage.
Yeah.
So that we don't kill the system, I put the blue box on the low sensitivity, which is a 3-position switch here for sensitivity, low, middle. I was just on middle and high. Anyway, so this is low. So low. I'm in the clean channel and I'm cranking the power amp, okay? So it's getting already kind of loud.
Yeah.
So we have a feature on the remote. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Velcro can be. Yeah. There's Velcro here and there. Come on. Bye bye. So next is, let's put that thing over here maybe. And engage the power soak. Oops, the volume is gone. So I start with power soak full. And oh, my drink is gone. And, so when it's full, there's no difference, okay? So what I can do now, I can deduct the output power to like 7 watts. And you can hear there's a lot of compression going on because the built-in reverb kind of blooms, you know? If I have no power soak, you can hear the attack. It should hurt in your ears. And this is kind of, it's reduced to 7 watts kind of now. And then of course I have the same effect like with the compressor. I have this blooming. Mind, this is the boosted clean sound, you know. Now the power amp saturation, just for fun, I go to 10. Now all power amp saturation possible. Okay, this is our nanotube power amp stage. Using the blue box, we are free in level, so you can adjust your monitor speakers.
Yep.
If you are using a standard cabinet at home, you might want to use a lot of this, but into the cabinet from this output, you have no extra volume control anymore. So therefore, I came up with the idea to have a home level section, which is switched automatically from under the middle position here. I show you. Switch. So this section here is 2 watts down to 150 milliwatts.
Okay.
0.15 watts. And the 2 watts, but we have to sacrifice a little bit of the tone. The beauty of this design, when it's like on the 7 watt mode, which is the stage mode, there is no load interference with the power amp stage. So the power amp stage breathes just like there would be a speaker directly connected to it.
Yeah.
Here, we are missing something of the things. I make the blue box now more sensitive, so we can, the same volume. A little sparkle is missing.
Yeah.
Okay, compare. It's not as alive as the other one. It's a tiny little bit, but this is actually what you get from a standard power soak as well, even from an aux as well. They all try to be as neutral, but they never get there 100%. That's physics. That's something, yeah. And that's the case, the same here. So by going into this zone, I'm on the power soak kind of. This is how it is with the power soak.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's above this, it's like, it doesn't get any better. Okay. Maybe you hear it, maybe you don't. I hear it, therefore I put it in there. Okay.
Well, people do talk about attenuators as tone suckers, don't they?
Yeah. The reason for that is simple, because the load of a speaker is a complex thing. The speaker is rated at 16 ohms, at 8 ohms or whatever. But this kind of ohmage is not the same on all the frequencies. There's like a curve, and it has a very different impedance at different frequencies. And that also changes with the current feedback, and that's depending on the design of the power amp stage. So that's a kind of a design thing. And so some amps are more sensitive to that, other amps are less sensitive to that. And there are some magic combinations therefore. But anyway, it is what it is. With this, I can go and have that effect without any side effects. That's the point here. Okay, using that, it's possible to use the AMP1 power amp saturation even at home. 150 milliwatts is pretty low volume, so that works. I know there's a lot of people that, I want that power soak from the AMP1. You can have it, it's there, as you can see, and you can access it with the remote one. You can also access it with a MIDI adapter, with our MIDI one, and then use whatever your DAW and send out the control change commands. So it's an option. If you're a total freak, you pay a lot of money for, a power soak, get a remote. I mean, and you have more functionalities. You have a programmable foot switch with it, and it can be a power soak as well.
Yeah. We're getting someone asking, can we maybe demo this with the NanoCab so we can hear how that sounds?
Yeah, sure.
Is that possible?
I'll try that. Okay, I switch to speaker B, which is, and we are in the NanoCab, yeah. this is power amp at 8 and 150 milliwatts, and we are still talking, you know, and the amp is on 8.
Yeah.
Okay, if I would switch back, I give you 2 watts now. That's already calling the neighbors here.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, and if I would go over the middle position here, I'm at 7 watts, and that's definitely calling the neighbor.
Yeah.
So, and there's another 93 watts at least on tap, which will call the police. Okay, anyway, but you get, I hope you could hear it in a way with the room miking setup here. Yeah, that's the thing about the power soak thing in general with other amps, and in particular with the AMP1. So we have that option. Other amps, I mean, if I would put that beautiful Marshall straight into the NanoCab, you can only dial in at almost 1 or 0, and then it's already too loud, and there's no saturation.
Yeah.
And this is what some people do, and then they use an overdrive pedal. Okay, but what you actually hear is an overdrive pedal into a nicely voiced amp, but that's running cold. And all the stuff that I was just showing is this nice saturation of an amp that's running hot. And that makes me feel great. Saying that, I know many people are doing, their Fender amps or their Plexis, very little volume, and have a nice overdrive pedal that gives them all the gain and all the compression, and like some high gain pedals with it, like the Ref or all these pedals like the Friedman that have kind of like preamps in a pedal. And that's a very popular way of dealing with it. And it actually works fine. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like another way of doing it. And then you need a special pedal to do that. And you're actually not really using your amp. The amp is more like, okay, there's a speaker and there's something that makes it a bit louder, but what is the amp doing at that volume? Not much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to sum it up, it's like you can have a pedal in front of any amp. If you have a boutique pedal, that gives you the full preamp sound, you can plug it into a cheesy amp with a good speaker. The speaker is important. So if you have an amplifier that has a good preamp and an effects loop, you can use the compressor to make you feel playing a cranked amp. That's one thing. Or you use a traditional tube amp cranked with a power soak, or you use the AMP1 cranked with the power soak, or you use it as it is and it sounds killer. Because, I mean, we can talk about all that stuff, and I have that. It's there. Do I use it? I just dial in a tone that I like, and I'm in heaven. That's all. We are still on the NanoCab. I go back for the blue box then. So this is like I listen to. So for me, the point is. Okay, that's like the sound. It's okay, but if you like spice the sound a bit up with the boost, that's my blooming. How much is the power amp doing at 2? Nothing. I mean, it's there. It has the character, but it's not actually doing. If I know how to dial in the tones right, and if you have an amp that is also capable of sounding good, which I paid a lot of attention to at lower volume, then So, and for me, you know, knowing all these things, I use those sometimes when I did recordings and tweaking sounds. And maybe if you find your, you know, sweet spot tone of your life with the compressor now, go for it. It's all good. For me personally, I can dial it in my AMP1 as it is, and that's all I need. See, this is like we can talk.
Yeah.
It's one on the AMP1.
Yeah, that's a lot quieter than strumming an acoustic guitar, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, tons of sustain. I use the boost now because the boost kind of enhances the musical dynamic, which means when I turn down the volume, I get more sparkling, and when I have the volume on 10, I get more gain. The other way would be crank the master volume, like I showed you before with the power soak, and you get a similar effect. It's slightly different. I'm very proud that the NanoTube power amp can do exactly the same thing like a tube amp. But in practice, if it's a good sound here, I can get, with these preamps, I can get there already. Because like the vintage channel is so dynamic by the way it's designed. That's killer. And I mean, we are at whisper volume now.
Yeah.
Okay, I go back for standard volume. Sorry. Put my blue box in the middle. Yeah, wow. So this is how it should be. Do we have any questions on what I just talked about?
No, at this point, the one piece of keywordery that I keep seeing coming up over and over again is deflex. People are starting to say, would it make a difference if I was to use a deflex in front of my cabinet at home?
Sure. I mean, a deflex always makes a difference.
Yeah.
So what it's kind of a dispersion system. It kind of throws the sound waves in more like a broader way, and it evens out the beam of a speaker. You know, a speaker has a beam in the middle, and the deflex kind of spreads the sound evenly in the room, and it's killer at home too. Yeah, I mean, deflex is something you should try, and it's similar like here with the power soak. Some people rave about power soaks. I can't live without a power soak. You know what? I can live. I have a power soak. I bought it for a certain reason. I have a power soak in here and I like it too, but I'm a lazy bastard, you know, because I used to practice even without an amplifier. So when I'm setting up a normal sound at low volume, I'm happy too. That's me. Yeah. But we have all the choices. And the deflex is something that actually gives you a parameter, a sound parameter at hand that no amp can do, no speaker can do. So you should experiment with that and see if this makes you happy, just like I talked about the compressor. That's all these elements, ingredients for your personal preference. And I have a deflex, and every time when the acoustics in a room are funny, the deflex is my solution. Sometimes I don't need it, but sometimes I'm very, very happy that this thing is there. And that because I had issues on some stages, especially when I put the cabinet was boomy in this corner, and then it was some weird things happen in rooms, and then you move the cabinet, and then you're not in the right spot with the cabinet, and you put a deflex in front of it, and everything is like even. So in other rooms, I'm happy as it is. So, but check out a deflex.
Yeah, I guess that leads us quite nicely into the second half of tonight's show, what we wanted to talk about, which is not so much playing at low volume specifically, but finding the right things, the right gear, the right pieces of equipment to give you a great feeling when you're playing at home, because that's the other key part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, having guitar, we have a guitar here that we can talk about, but you know, a guitar at home is, of course, I can play my stage guitar at home, but to be honest, my 61 Strat at home, I never play. My 61 Strat sits in my gig bag, and that's sometimes a hard one. I take it to the gigs and play it on gigs. Or when I do a proper session, I play that guitar. At home, I always play a vintage or a BluGuitar or whatever. You know, I love Strats, so I have thousands of Strats. There's my cupboard, and there's another one, and there's one, and there's one. So in every corner there's a Strat at my home. And that's all good. I don't need my real 61 Strat at home, because I have other guitars that make me happy and inspire me. That's the point. The best moment for inspiration for me is when I wake up in the morning. It's like my brain is not, it's still in a different mode. It's kind of, maybe I'm still dreaming, I don't know what, but I'm very creative in the morning. I pick up a guitar and there is fresh music. So my cell phone, dictaphone is full of ideas that I could use on future records if I had the time. But so there's always like, this is a nice melody and stuff like that. And then the inspiration factor with me in the morning is like, if you ask me to write a song, I wake up, and if I write a song, I start playing, and it would be there in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, at least. Yeah, it's, if I would do this like in the afternoon, my brain is already congested with a lot of logical things, and I don't feel free anymore. I can do stupid work, I can make telephone calls, but I'm not creative at 2 in the afternoon.
What about at night? Because a lot of creative people, a lot of people who write, a lot of people who do music, they are night owls, and they tend to have a notebook by the bed or something like that, and they might stay up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and just do things when everyone else is asleep.
Yeah, I used to be like that a lot, and I worked a lot at nights. I still do sometimes, but I'm more like the worker at night. At night, I'm the kind of guy that finishes something that I already have invented or that I created. Like at night, it's like I can spend hours to edit stuff on the computer. Like, okay, there's I can spend 5 hours easily at night cleaning the drums, or coming up with bits, but not the big picture. The big picture in the morning, it's me in the morning. Give me the topic, and it's there. And it's just the way I work. The night is perfect for working on details, and the hours might pass, and I get in kind of a flow thing, and then have another drink, and then I work another 2 hours without noticing it. And also there's no telephone calls anymore, no distraction, and the nighttime is also a very precious time in a way. And me being the guy on the bike, which is also, I ride my push bike, I wear my, earbuds, yeah, and calling people, and I can do a lot of brainstorming on the bike. And this, sometimes I make 2-hour, 3-hour bike rides without noticing that I did 50K. It's just because I feel good, I see the nature, I can go along the river here, and that's also good to to free your mind and come up with fresh ideas. At home, when I'm sitting on the sofa and there's a cell phone, I'm distracted by YouTube, I'm distracted by telephone calls, I'm distracted by everything that's lying around in my living room. I can see invoices that I have to pay. I have a bad conscience about, oh, I didn't pay whatever this or that, I didn't do that, and it's not clean, and my laundry needs to be cleaned, and blah, blah, blah. And every corner I see a problem. And that is not good. In the morning, my brain doesn't pick that up. I give a fuck about what's laying around. I just grab the guitar and I'm still there. I'm still in my world and not in that reality, in that, it's not present for me at that time. And at night when it's darker and you watch your screen or you're focused on certain things, all that distraction disappears. And that's, for me, working is fun when it's in a flow. I don't mind working long and hard as long as it's not frustrating. So I learned how to structure my day to be most effective, and that makes me feel great. So back in the days when I was at Hughes & Kettner, I said no meetings before 11. I was freelance. I could do that.
You were getting away with that, okay.
Yeah.
Some people didn't.
I know, but I did. And the reason for that is I had the best hours for me being creative in the morning. And there's another general rule is if you need to do something which is important in your life, it could be whatever the transaction of some money or a telephone call, do it in the morning, first thing. We have a list of 10,000 things we want to do, but do the most important thing first. That's a big lesson. And it makes you feel so much better because I've done it. And with this positive energy, you can do the next 10 things easily. And that's the way how to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just got an interesting question come in just before we start talking more about inspiration. Someone says he doesn't understand Thomas saying that the master doesn't affect tone. It does, it adds the tube's influence. The AMP1 sounds a lot better, he says, with the master up and the overdrive volume low.
Actually, I wouldn't say so, because let's prove. Let's simply double check. I put the sensitivity on low. There is some magic with the master for me. I mean, that's a matter of taste. On stage volume. And that's about 5. Ouch. We have the switching system again. A switching system is a thing where the guitar goes in, the speakers are switched, and so there's always the danger of kind of antenna things going on. The speaker cable sends out the stuff into the input and the pickups. Like. So that's one way of doing it. The other way would be so this is now can we double check with the what is it? The meter here.
Yeah, okay. Play a little bit again.
Okay, let's try. How much is
That's like max 75 dB or
75,
like
okay. For you guys out there, the master is now on 2 and the master of the overdrive is on 10. So this is like maxed out here and reduced here. Let's try to do the opposite. Is it the same?
Similar, yep.
Yeah. So, does it sound any better, any different? Okay, I do the same again. So this is like master on 5 and like the big master on 5 and the overdrive master on 3.5, okay? Soft notes. Back here, full up here. There's a slight difference, I agree. Okay, the thing is it that much? I don't think so.
And again, is it also a taste thing?
I think so. Technically, what happens is when I crank the master on the overdrive, it can saturate the EQ section a bit. There's a different gain staging inside the amp, and of course, you know, every stage sounds a bit different when it's loaded differently.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, nothing changed on the input, nothing changed on other parts. But there's a slight difference. If you like it, go for it. Okay.
Yep.
In theory, it shouldn't be that much. In practical, I would say it isn't that much, but there's a slight little difference. If you like it, go for it. Cool. Do we have any questions here?
No, I think at this point, I just looked at the time and we don't have that long left to do our second topic, which is the inspiration stuff.
Okay.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's get you playing the hands guitar, which came in.
Okay. I hand you this and you hand me the hands.
Wow, the weight difference is the first thing that you notice.
Yeah. I mean, this is the Strat is 3.5 kilograms.
Yeah.
If you turn down to the back, sometimes it's written here. Not on this one. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I weigh the guitars and I sometimes put it on the back with a.
Right.
So I can count. Show this guitar. This is another nice thing. The shape of this thing is the shape of the Saarland. This is
really?
Yeah, look at this. This is Saarbrücken. This is where we live now. This is St. Wendel. This is where you live. You know?
Yeah, that's why it takes me so long to drive here, because I have to go round that to get home.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this was just a fun thing.
So this is not real authentic wear? Or did your belt buckle actually rub a Saarland shape into the back of your strap?
No, I wasn't that artistic. But it's actually close. So somebody came up with the idea, hey, let's go all the way and make this Saarland. But this is just on this particular guitar. I have a couple of other blue guitars. Where's the other one? It's downstairs. Doesn't matter. I show you, they look similar, but not exactly. But this is pretty accurate, the Saarland.
This is 3.5K, and I think that one feels like it's about, what, 2.5 max? It's
2.5. I have. It's so light. I mean, you know, I can hold it with one finger here. This is, you know.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
The wood it's made of is one which is called Paulownia, which is, I think, similar to Swamp Ash, and a couple of other brands have started using it, but I've never touched a guitar before that is made of Paulownia wood. I
know there's poplar wood, like Pappel in German, poplar maybe English. But I'm a pretty non-expert when it comes to woods, I have to say.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I know what I want, and let's see. I got a lot of headroom now. Here we go. There's a P90.
Yep.
And P90s are single coils, so that's you know, I'm a friend of I love all kind of pickups, but there's something about swing in a single coil you can't beat it.
Of course, and that is one of your favorite pickup makers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we go back 25 years, and he was sleeping here, he was sleeping there, he was sleeping downstairs, he was here with the whole family. We have a lot of common ground created over the years, and he is the kind of guy that I can challenge, and he doesn't give up. You know, he's one of the guys that even if it's 3 years later, he calls me and says, "Hey Thomas, I think I know what you want. I found it. It's still there." And that it amazes me, you know, and he doesn't forget. If I tell him, you know, there's this little extra sparkle on this 65 Stratocaster with a blah, 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 blah. Okay, 3 years later, I said, try this, you know? So this kind of guy, I love this. I mean, there are some other great pickup makers out there, but for me, Andreas is special for 2 reasons. One, because his experience, his knowledge, and how deep he digs in. He makes his own screws. He bought metal for my Les Paul. You know, the screws are specially made from, you know, you can't buy these screws. He has them specially custom made for himself.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know about these. Maybe there are 2, maybe not. So anyway, so that's a cool. What's the thing about such a guitar? If you do have a back problem, get a light guitar. Hey, serious.
Yeah.
I mean, the inspiration stops when you have pain.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, let's get rid of this, so I have more room. That gives me more inspiration too. So if I have a P90 always, it is kind of a beefier version of a Strat in a way. Mama. It's just kind of dirty, kind of, Keith Richards, Stone. Yeah, it's a nice and specky guitar. Okay, I have a reference which is scary good. Let's grab my 56 Les Paul Jr.
Just twist this one round so you can see the back. You can really feel the grain in the wood as well.
So
it's a beautiful finish. And this is, I suppose, the closest touch point is a Les Paul Jr.
Yeah.
Right? Single P90, single cutaway.
And this is heavier, I can tell you. I mean,
just
feel it.
the weight. Oh yeah, for a Les Paul, it's not that heavy,
No,
but
it is.
It's a good chunk more than this one.
Yeah, and this is 56. So I mean, we're talking something expensive, but it's not in tune. This has Spursel tuners. It's a studio guitar.
Right?
Yeah, the bridge is also changed, but the body is original, the pickup is original, the bridge is changed, and the tune. This was my studio guitar that I use a lot. These guitars work beautiful in the studio. I mean, live I always play Strat because I'm home there, but in the studio you need some other colors. And such guitars, they have the transparency, but they also have a bit more due to the P90s, so that's great.
Is there a thing about the single pickup as well? Because there are people who talk about the science of not having a neck pickup there and the magnetic pull-on strings and stuff like that.
I mean,
do you subscribe to that?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a neck pickup, it pulls the strings anyhow. If you have a middle pickup, you have even more. And then you have interference of the magnetic fields of each pickup. And the real authentic Strat guys, they play 3 pickups in the same magnetic direction. I play a reverse round middle pickup, and that already changes the tone. For worse, if you are a real authentic 61 player. But hey, I'm a gigging musician. I want something that works, and having an in-between position with no hum is more than having the 100% authentic thing. So I'm sacrificing 2% for something. Okay, let's try and let's do the. I think this was the end of this comparison.
Oh, we can do the Keith Richards thing now, can't we?
Well, it was a wrong string.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, get the string out. Let's try and see what we get with 5 strings, but the wrong ones. Hey, this is the real deal, 1956 Les Paul Jr., and that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's lightweight, so nothing wrong about that guitar. It has 6 strings.
The one difference I noticed is that this seems a little bit mellower, maybe.
Yeah.
This one has a more biting top end.
Let's see that. But the thing
This
about
one is so easy in the hand.
Yeah, this one is a bit beefier maybe in a way. And this is a brand new guitar. I mean, this has been played for decades, ages, and that changes the guitar also a lot.
Yeah.
So that guitar, it's good as it is, but it needs to get some mileage.
This guitar was literally made in January 2021, so this guitar is how many years old? I'm not a mathematician. 56, 65 years old or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And
a lot of things happen to the wood and the sweat that's literally gone into that guitar over the years, the changes in the pickup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and this is a good one. I don't buy guitars that I should, and this has been recorded many times. So that's a real reference. Okay. Yeah, but that's the thing about guitars. Guitars is, if you take an instrument in your hand, and I describe it if there's music built into the instrument for me, that's a guitar that I want to keep.
Yeah.
And there's other guitars that might be great. I mean, sometimes I have the problem that I play, like Paul Reed Smith, for instance. They are the best made guitars. It's like they're so perfect. They're too perfect for me. It's like everything is at the right spot, and it's scary. It's like, where's the character? I mean, there is even character, but it's like too good. And that doesn't suit my personal thing. I had a Paul Reed Smith for a while, back 20 years ago, and I know a few people that play the Paul Reed Smith and they are totally happy and it makes total sense for them. But I'm the guy that's looking for an instrument that is maybe not as perfect, but has some weird things that I can play with that makes me play that guitar. For instance, give me whatever instrument. give me back that Strat. I just show you a few things that inspire me.
You know what I was also actually thinking today was you never see PRS guitars which are sort of relict like this naturally.
Yeah.
Also, they don't make them relict either, I don't think. You never see a old PRS, do you?
No.
I guess because people keep them in the cases or at home or whatever.
The PRS thing is maybe something. I'm not saying it's bad. No. I don't want to classify it. It's more like it's something ideal in a way of perfectionism that I don't personally agree on. It's a taste thing. It's all good. It's not me. I don't know. I'm just different. Okay. Just a few notes with this. I have an idea. We switch to low before the neighbors come. At very low. I could just go on, you know, the pickups and there's the of the Strat that I love.
Yeah.
There's the twang, the in-between position. There's the nice and even woodiness. The middle position.
Yeah.
I can switch to neck. Have a darker. Or any, you know, that's why I just relate to that Strat, you know.
Yeah, well, it's inspiration again, isn't it? And
yeah.
I mean, the Strat is your guitar. And I noticed as well, when you picked up the hands, you played that one in a certain way. When you picked up your 56 Les Paul Junior, you played that slightly differently.
Yeah.
When you were playing the Gold Top earlier, again, you approach them all differently, and it's about what feels good in your hands, what resonates with you. And yeah, like you say, some guitars have music in them, some have songs in them, and some just don't, even if they're perfect.
Yeah. For you.
Yeah.
Another guy picks up the same guitar and maybe is totally happy with it. So I'm not saying, you know, every guitar, and of course there are kind of facts in quality that we all can agree on. There's sustain, there's a frequency thing, but in the end there's a lot of personal taste that communicates with your ideal concept of tone, of what you expect.
Yeah.
And that's the point. In the end, that matters.
Yeah.
Anything else is who needs quality if it doesn't speak to you, you know? Some things in life are cheap and they make you happy.
Yeah, it's like over there in the corner, we didn't have time to play it, but I have the Harley Benton Les Paul Junior inspired guitar, and that costs 150, 200 euros or something like that.
It makes you happy.
And it makes me happy. Yeah. I enjoy playing on that guitar, and this guitar makes me happy in a very different way.
Yeah.
It would make my wallet very unhappy in another different way, but that's just the way it is, you know, with guitars and gear, that kind of thing.
But I learned, here's one thing. If you have a guitar that actually talks to you like, hey guy, I'm special, get it. Even if it's hard to finance it in a way, if you are absolutely certain, I regret 2 things that I couldn't buy in my life, and it's still bugging me year after year. It's like a 64 Strat that I never could buy when I was 17. Fuck, I should have bought them both, the 61 white Strat and the 64. And yeah, that's one of guitar, and there was a Les Paul, but at that time I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But these instruments talk to me, and I knew it even when I was 17. I picked up, I plugged in, and immediately I connected with the instrument, and there was the music. Boom, end of story. And it was different from the 64 to the 61 Strat because of these nuances. But this was in the range where I usually work. It was actually what I'm looking for. And my problem is I can memorize stuff like that so well, and it doesn't disappear. It's like, yeah. Anyway, so everything has two sides. The good side is I can still memorize it, and the bad side, it sometimes bugs me. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, I guess we have to finish because it's the time when the neighbours will come round to tell us to stop playing, even if it's at a nice volume. So
yeah. Anyway, it's been great again to talk about anything on the. We didn't even look at the.
No, we probably missed some stuff. There have been quite a few questions that we haven't got to.
I think
we'll have to answer them on a future live stream.
There's more to come, guys. You know, the year has just begun. February, and one thing about February these days here in Germany is amazing weather. 18 degrees Celsius, top down on my convertible. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying this after a long winter where, like 2 weeks ago, we had like -10.
Yeah, and snow on the ground.
Yeah, snow on the ground. And it makes me happy. But I wouldn't mind to get a haircut.
No, in England, the hairdressers are going to start opening soon, but you need to have called them already last month because you're going to have to wait 3 months to get an appointment.
Oh,
they're that
really?
busy. Yeah,
and I would have to fly to UK, which I can't.
Which you can't also do. So yeah, okay.
So let's find out if there's a version how to get a haircut. Call my Italian guy and maybe sneak from the back door. We'll find out in the live stream, or maybe not. Let's see.
Yeah, who knows? Keep coming back each week to see if Thomas finally gets that haircut.
Yeah. Okay, cheers, guys. See you next week, and stay tuned.
Can you tease them just what's coming up next week, or do you not know yet?
No, I have a couple of choices. I have something. Maybe we do that, but I might change it. But there's something with Manuel Kettenring again. We found out on one of those long bike discussions when I'm on the bike and I do the brainstorm. We like bands that have different guitar players that kind of make the band sound differently. I mean, just for example, there's Deep Purple. Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore. Deep Purple, Steve Morse. But there was also Deep Purple with Tommy Bolin. And then if you go for like Whitesnake, you know, there is Muddy, and I played with him. Here I go again. We played with, forget it. There's so many different guitar players in Whitesnake, and we want to talk about that, how a guitar player and his particular style influences the sound of the band. So
that's an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Vai was in the band, Adrian Vandenberg was in the band, John Sykes was in the band. Whitesnake is maybe a good example of how many guitar players can play in one band the same songs most of the time and make the sound, Doug Aldrich.
Was Bernie Marsden in Whitesnake?
Bernie Marsden.
Was he the guy you're thinking of? Yeah, okay.
I have a clip with Bernie Marsden. I have a story. Stay tuned for that one. It's either next week or the week after. But very soon.
Yeah, so enjoy. Many cool things coming up on the stream. We've shot some interesting other videos recently, which hopefully you guys will get to see. Thank you to Hans Guitars for just sending this one over for us to check out and for Thomas to play. I'm going to go on my own YouTube and say there'll be a video with that on there, so check out that if you're interested in it. And thank you very much, and we will see you next week for number 45.
Yeah, it's getting there. Cheers. Take care. Bye. Yeah, we just got a new delivery. We got fresh new NanoCabs, fat cabs, twin cabs, and AMP1s. If you order now, we throw in a little nice sound guide overlay and a pack of the home plate picks and a t-shirt of your size. So order now.